Okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at is going to be the imagery question and the imagery technique. So that is going to be your next heading, imagery. Okay, so imagery, let's begin with a definition. So imagery refers to when a writer uses words or when a writer creates pictures by comparing one thing to another thing. So when a writer uses words to make a picture, and they do this by comparing one thing to another thing, this is imagery. Okay, so imagery is all about comparisons. It's all about one thing or one person being compared to something else. That is the key to keep in mind. Excuse me. That is the key to keep in mind when you are thinking about imagery. It's all about something being compared to something else. That is imagery. Okay. Now, in terms of the purpose of the question, what it checks is it checks if the student knows how, or if the student can show how the writer creates meaning with picture words, yeah? Or another way to say it would be, can the student demonstrate that they understand how the writer creates meaning with these comparisons, with these pictures? Okay, how can they demonstrate they understand the comparison, and can they demonstrate that they understand what the meaning of these comparisons are? All of these things basically are in the sort of, or what is checked for. Do you understand? Excuse me. Do you understand what's being compared, how it's compared, and do you understand the meaning it creates? Basically, that is the purpose. Okay, that's what's being checked for. Okay, now what we're gonna do, okay, before I get to the steps of how to do this, what we first need to do, okay, is we need to establish what the different kinds of imagery are, and we begin with simile. So simile is when two things are compared using like or as. Okay, so anytime you see like or as, and the question is an imagery question, then you can be sure that you are dealing with a simile. Okay, a simile. So go ahead and copy this down. Like or as is the key. And then in the middle there, you see the formula. A is like / as B. So this would be, this thing is like this thing. Anytime you see anything like that, that is a simile. Okay. And then you have an example sort of simile underneath. She was like a shining star, which is obviously an example of a simile. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at is going to be metaphors. Okay, now a metaphor is when you compare two things. So you see, we're talking about comparisons. So when you compare two things by saying one thing is the other thing. Okay, so it doesn't use like or as. A metaphor is like the stronger version of a simile. Think about it like that. So where a simile will say this thing is like this thing, or it's similar to this thing, it's as this thing. Yeah. A metaphor will just say this thing is this thing, okay? It is something else. It was something else. It'll just be very direct and it won't use like or as. Simile is similar. Metaphor is direct and sort of stronger. Think about it that way. Okay, so you have the formula underneath. A is B. It can also be A was B. Just as long as there's no like or as, then most of the time you're going to be dealing with a metaphor. And finally, you have the same example but turned into a metaphor, which is she is a shining star. So you see it's stronger, yeah? Okay, and now finally finally, you have the last type of imagery, which is called personification, which is when you make something that is not human sound or act like a human. So you make a tree, you say the tree shouted, or the tree cried, or the sky cried. Any of those things, all of those things are personification. It's a comparison between something that's not human and something and the human. Okay, so it would be A, that is the not human thing, looked, sounded, or acted human, yes, described in a human way. Now, the really easy way to think about this is just think about cartoons. When you have like a pig, like Peppa Pig, that speaks and talks, that's personification. Or think about in a cartoon when they have like a flower dancing. All of those things are personification. Okay, now the important thing here is you can get mixed up sometimes between personification and metaphor. The way to know the difference, the way to know which is if the thing is being described like a human being, okay, if a non-human thing is being described in a way that makes it sound human, gives it a human quality, then it's personification. Any other situation, it's a metaphor, okay? If it doesn't involve something that's not human being described in a human way with a human action, then it's metaphor, okay? It's a metaphor. That's like a little tip for you to remember. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to give you the steps for how to do it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So you begin, as always, by going to the lines, and then you write a quote, same as what we mentioned before with word choice and whatnot. Then what you want to do, okay, is you want to underline the image word. That is the word that is that creates the image. Like for example, the flower danced. The image word there is the danced is the one. You want to underline the word that is, you can think about like imaginary, yeah? The word that's not real. Like the flower danced. Shining star, yes, star in this case would be the image. The part of the sentence, okay, the part of the quote that's not real, the imaginary part, the image part, that's the part that you're going to focus on, okay? So then, because that's the thing that that's the thing that is the comparison, yeah, that's the important part. Okay, once you've done that, now you want to identify the type of image, okay? And again, it's only gonna be simile, metaphor, or personification, only one of those. There won't be any other type of image at NAT 5 or higher. Okay, then you give the literal meaning of the image word. For example, if the word is danced, you would say to dance is to move in a celebratory way, to move in as a form of celebration, or to move in a fast way while you're having fun to music, something like that, yeah? Just describe what dancing is. Or if it was a shining star, you would say something like a star is a very bright light in the sky, something like that, yeah? Give the literal meaning of the word. Something that's not from this world, something like that, yeah? Okay, then you just finish by saying this suggests. And now what you do, okay, is you just answer the question, or in other words, you just explain what the writer is trying to say by making this comparison. So what is he trying to say by calling this girl a shining star? What is he trying to say? He's trying to say that she is amazing, she's out of this world, she's something like that, yeah? What is he trying to say by the flower danced? He's trying to say that the flower was moving in a way that it looked like it was having fun, it was moving quickly, something like that, yeah? So just basically explain, what does it suggest, yeah? What does the writer, what is he trying to say? by using this comparison. That's what you do in the final step. Okay, and you'll notice it is almost like word choice, where you have a connotation and then you use the connotation in your answer. So here you give the definition, the basic meaning, the literal meaning of the word, and then you use that in your answer when you're doing the this suggest to explain what the writer is trying to get at, basically. Okay, what he's trying to say. Okay, now we'll look at some examples. Okay, so to begin, here is an example quote. The city was a war zone. So we focus on the image word, the imaginary word, which is war zone. Yes, the made up part. We say it's a metaphor. How do we know that? It says was, it doesn't say like or as. Also, there's nothing, the city is not being compared to a human. Yeah, so then we know it's a metaphor. And then we explain what is a war zone. A war zone is a place where people are dying and being shot. And then we just explain what is the writer trying to say by using this comparison, by making the comparison. We just say this suggests the city is unsafe as people are getting hurt and killed. And we could have said the city is unsafe as people are dying and being shot. We could have said that. Or it's a violent place or anything like that would have been good. Okay, now we'll do an answer together. So we have another quote here. Her words were like daggers. Okay, so what is the image part? Well done. The image part is daggers. Okay, it's the made up part. Her words are not actually daggers yet. It's made up. Good. So we know daggers. Okay. And then what is the type of image? Well, it says like. That tells us it's a simile. Okay. Very good. And then what is a dagger? The dagger is a sharp knife. Then what does this suggest? This suggests that her words were very hurtful. Yeah, like a dagger. I could have also have said damaging. I could also have said painful, anything like that, yeah? Okay, good. And finally, we will look at this last example. Okay, we have the quote, the school bell laughed. Okay, so what is the image? The image is laughed. Remember, it's the part that's not real. Yeah, bells don't laugh. It's the image. Okay, it's the made up part. And then what is the technique? What is type of image is it? Well, there's no like or as, so it's not a simile. So it could be a metaphor. But the school bell, which is not a human thing, is being compared to a human. It's being given a human quality, laughing. Therefore, it is personification, yeah? And the key to remember is personification, yeah? It's person. It's being made into a person, which makes it personification, okay? Personification. Okay, good. Now all we do, okay, is we just explain what is the writer trying to say. And what I'll do is I'll just add some to the end of this quote. Okay. Just to give us a little bit of context. So laughed, now we just say this just excuse me. Now when we're doing this, we want to imagine that, say, the poem or the text was talking about a kid's experience in school. Just think about it like that. So use the context to help you, okay, to help you to understand what the meaning is. So this suggests the school. I missed a step. Excuse me, I've missed a step. Okay, my bad. So laughing. Laughing is a happy sound. Okay. Made when, yeah, so this is the step in between. Something funny happens. Okay, and now you can see that the answer is revealed. So this is the reason we do this step. It's because it gives us the answer, basically. This suggests the school was a funny place, yeah? Was a funny and happy place. And happy place. It's that simple, yeah? It's a funny and happy place. So funny, so happy. Even the bell is laughing. Okay? That simple. So personification, use the context to help you, and then definitely do the step where you give the literal meaning, and then explain what the writer is trying to say. What is he trying to suggest? So if, for example, it would have been the bell cried, I would have said crying is something that you do when you're sad. Then I would have said this suggests that the school is a very sad place. If it was the bell screamed or shouted, I would have said shouting is something that people do when they're angry. This suggests the school is a very hostile place, a place of conflict, where there's a lot of anger. You understand the point. So, personification, when something not human is given human qualities. And yes, so that is imagery. And yeah, good job. Okay.